Hey everyone, it's me, Life Spiller. I wanted to do a video talking about my life as an introvert because I feel like I wanted to give people a little bit of a deeper understanding. I think as the culture is starting to grow and people are starting to move in the trend of learning and understanding personalities and behaviors and understand who people are. Just to give you an idea of who I am, my personality type is an INTP. I as in igloo, N as in Nancy, T as in Tom, and P as in Paul. You can look it up just to give you an idea. I may put a little thing at the bottom to give you an idea what the acronyms for that word means. But I'm an introvert, and 75% of the population is extrovert, especially over here in the United States. And then about 25% is introvert. And see, the way the culture is shaped or the ideas of how things are looked at, they look more at the extrovert because that's the person that's always taking the next step forward. They're always the one that's in the front. They're always the one that's going for the extra position or doing the big things is what it seems. It seems as though that's the way it is. And then the introvert is the one that's in the background, strategically putting things together. You know, there's almost like you got the whole cast doing the movie or the TV show or whatever, and then you got the cameraman and the director, which would be us, but they're not always introverts. Anyway, introverts usually have a tendency to feed off of spending time by themselves, doing things by themselves, like sitting, reading a book, watching movies, TV shows, eating out by themselves, other things of that nature. Just to give you an idea of how much time I spent alone, probably over the last 5-6 years, I've watched about 20 to 30,000 YouTube videos. Whether they're 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, podcasts, vlogs, all kinds of stuff. I'm subscribed to more than 100 channels, and I actively watch like each one of those channels because of all the time I get to spend. Early on, I knew something was different. I just didn't understand what it was because in the 70s and 80s, we didn't have the proper terms of what we called certain people or personality types. I always remembered having two friends. My first set of friends, it was Tommy and JR. They were brothers. And then the next set was Byron and Tyrone. They were brothers. Javier and Jaime, they were brothers. A few other of my friends, they were brothers. And even now, as a grown man, I only have two friends. I have associates and I have people that I know through a friend of a friend that I might go out and kick it with, but like just in my inner circle, like I will say these are my friends. These are the ones that I actually call on, you know, whenever I want to go out or going to an event or whatever the case may be. But pretty much with an introvert, the best way it's been explained to me is that the stimuli or the stimulation within our brain is already up here, whereas an extrovert, their stimuli is like this. Therefore, that's why they have to be around other people, because they get their energy or their stimulation from being around other folks, being in the mix, being at the parties, being at the social gatherings, feeding off the energy of others, where we already there. So we need to digress from all that. So we need to unplug from all those things because our brain is always constantly going. Even that's why it's harder for an introvert to fall asleep than it is for an extrovert, because our mind is always constantly going. We're always in our thoughts. I'm always in my head. That's why I'm able to come up with so many thoughts for the show. Like even while I'm at work, I'm writing down new ideas for the show, new things that I can do, new camera angles, new equipment that I could possibly get my hands on and stuff like that. I'm always in the midst of those things. But just to give you an idea of even when I was I would get in trouble in elementary, and I would have to go to ISS, which is in school suspension, or I would get punished by my mother and have to go to my room. Little did they know that I could come up with little games in my own head, writing and doing other things, drawing and stuff like that. And so it really wasn't a form of punishment for me. It was just more of, oh, I have to be here. for a certain period of time, and I would just do a mental countdown of how long I would have to be in a room, or how long I would have to be in a room because of being suspended. Small talk. I cannot stand small talk. Small talk to me is like when people are asking me about the weather and my job, or asking me about what state I'm from, and it's like those things are not that important to me. So for me, whenever I am making conversation, I have a tendency to not make eye contact. I hate making eye contact because it feels like people are staring at you or something. I don't know what it is. And even with me doing vlogs and videos, it's hard for me to make eye contact with the camera because I don't like making eye contact with anything. I feel like I have to flow wherever I feel like going. My mind doesn't allow me to always focus in on those things. But the weird thing that I do is that whenever I do meet someone new, because I don't have a problem with meeting strangers or meeting different people, I do an observation thing. And it's the weirdest thing that I do, but I look at their clothes, I look at their shoes, I look at things around them, things they possibly wearing. The reason why is because it's a conversation starter for me. I'm like, oh, I see that you're wearing such and such pair of jeans, or such and such pair of shoes, or oh, I see you have that red watch, blah blah blah. It turned out to be a G-Shock watch, and I'll just say, oh, you remember Eminem? He was probably like one of the first people to even advertise a G, and that just leads into a conversation that goes from here to there, and then you find out the person's interests, and that's how I am able to meet new people. We do a lot of monotone. A lot of us introverts almost sound like we have this one consistent tone with everything. Like even when I smile, it's still a smile of the same tone. Whereas most people, because I pay attention to the ups and downs of people's voices and how it changes, and with an introvert, it's almost consistently the same, because it's like you don't have I don't know, it's almost like you don't have the capability of changing that up. I mean, even though I smile, sometimes I do that out of nervousness or whatever, but I also want to appear like I'm enjoying myself, because I know that some people read introverts' face, and that's another thing. Our face sometimes stays consistently the same, so people think you're mad, or they think I'm upset, and I'm like, and when they stop and actually ask me, I'm like, no, I'm good. And they be like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah. And I'll be looking like this, and sometimes it looks like I'm giving them a mean look or something. I'm like, no, I'm actually good. Everything's fine. Especially when I get extremely quiet. I can get quiet in groups, and I'll just fall back, and people will be thinking other things like, is everything okay? And I've had people come up to me at events, at parties and stuff like that, at family gatherings, thinking something's wrong, and I'm like, no. And when I do go to family gatherings or social events, I pull one person to the side and just have an ongoing conversation with them like nothing. But when it starts to become 2 people, it's okay. But then when it comes 3 people, it's like too much. I will slowly pull myself away from the conversation. I like eating alone. I don't eat lunch with people. I don't like the feeling of having to feel like almost having to perform with conversation and feel like I gotta give them some part of me. It's not something that people are expecting, but in an introvert's mind, we are always constantly in our heads thinking about stuff, thinking about, ooh, how do I sound to this person? Was that the funny joke? Was that a good joke? Was that a good conversation that we just had? Was that a good answer to the question? And that's what can make it hard doing videos just in general, because I constantly am thinking about everything all the time. Like, dang, did I do this right? Dang, did I mess up here? Or it's a maze. It's a definite maze that you'll go through, but it's funny. And irritation or being irritable, you'll notice that with an introvert, when we become combative or upset or erratic with our thoughts and stuff like that, that really means we need to digress and pull away. That means I need to unplug from the group and plug myself in. The best way somebody explained introvert another way was, it's just like your phone. You know, our phones, we have to constantly charge it. Well, that's the same thing with an introvert. Eventually the battery bars, they start to go down. When I'm around one person, I'm still fully charged. Two people, I lost one battery cell. But three people, about 2 or 3 of them already dropped. By 4 people, it's already dropped. And then the more time that I spend in groups, the more energy is drained. So I eventually need to plug in and recharge. And so what will happen in exchange, and even my wife began to understand that, is that I become irritated and I become upset. And that's why I know that about myself. So what I do is I go ahead and pull myself away from the group, or be blunt. Because an introvert knows what they do or they don't like, and what they don't like pressure. They don't like to be pressured into anything, so that's going to make them say no all the more faster. I always tell myself, if I can see a no down the road, I'll just go ahead and say no now. And with being blunt, I have to learn to not be so harsh with people, because sometimes I can say things right off the top of my head. If they ask me something, I just tell them straight up with no consideration towards people's feelings. Not that I don't care, but it's just that, oh, you asked me, now I'm telling you, and now you're upset about what I just said, or the way I delivered it. As I've gotten older, I've gotten wiser, intuitive. I would say having an introvert as a friend is a really, really good friend, or a good thing. It's because I'm able to listen to people, and I'm able to understand people, and I'm able to try to meet that need, whatever that is, like as far as guidance and stuff like that. I can tell when people are upset, when they're happy, when they're sad, when they're going through, and I am empathetic, and I can sympathize with people. And so I really turned out to be a really good friend. So like, I'm that guy you can call on, whether you're a guy or a girl, whatever, and be like, man, this situation is kind of messed up. I've been going through some hard times lately. And I'll be like, okay, I'm able to strategize within my own head and figure out, oh, have you tried doing this, or have you tried doing that? And they'll be like, no, I didn't think about that. And so, yeah, it's funny, but yeah, I begin to understand those things even about myself. I dealt with a lot of mockery coming up as a kid, as a teenager, as an adult, where people didn't understand it. Why Friday night everybody's out and I would rather be at home, and it was just my comfort zone. I'm not always able to explain things in a manner to where people can understand it. And I know that's an introvert thing, because we think about things, and sometimes we overanalyze and we overthink things way too much. And so by the time it comes out, like even when I have a good idea, like a great idea, a great title for a video, the conception versus what actually comes out, it don't match up. And I think with us overanalyzing, overthinking stuff, and not just letting it be free and just let it come out, it's the struggle. That is definitely a struggle. But I would have to say I love being an introvert, because I actually love just being able to just learn all these new things. Every time I hear something that I haven't heard before, like a song or an artist or a book or something in science, something in history, some person that I've never discovered before, I go and look it up. I read about it. I study it. I put it all together. Things that I just find fascinating is science and history and math and computers and technology and video games and movies and music and poetry and art. And I love different types of people, and I love studying the psyche of folks and the building blocks and the structure of the DNA and all that stuff that may not even be amusing to people, but anyway, that's just my life as an introvert, just to give you more, and hopefully this helps other people to begin to understand their friends, their brothers or their sisters or their cousins or their nieces, their nephews. They're not strange, they just like more time by themselves because they're an introvert. But other than that, I'm Light Spiller. Make sure you leave comments down below, like, comment, subscribe, and all that. I'm out.